recording on this. I'm recording right now, you guys. So that way, it's just in case anybody wants to listen to it. So I am recording right now. So what is the main idea of each document? So according to the Cyrus cylinder, what do you understand about the Cyrus cylinder? Okay, so let's look at this. What is the main idea of the Cyrus cylinder? Only the Cyrus cylinder. Okay, so what is the first thing you guys notice? Anything that you guys want to point out, that you guys want to annotate, that you want to take notes? What do you guys notice? What is the first thing that I always tell you when you're reading something? What is the first thing that you have to look at?
Well, he was a king in the 539 before Christ.
Very good. That is the first thing that we have to look. That this is BC, before Christ or before Common Era. So this is 539 years before the crucifixion of Jesus. So BC, before Common Era, before Christ. So this is during the Roman empires before, back. Okay. This is after, if you know about history, this is after Moses, way after Moses, but 500 years, 500 years before Christ. Okay, so in 539, okay, so first I like what Miss Bricia said. He was a king, so I'm going to underline the things that you want me to notice. So he was a king. What else did you guys notice? What are the words that pop out? The words that kind of like, ooh, pay attention here, pay attention there. Any other word?
Persia.
Okay,
Choose Persia.
so
and compared to the city of Babylon. It's
okay,
very interesting.
so let's look at this just in case. That's why it's so important to know your maps. So let's go to Google. I like, Google's my BFF when I study. So I'm going to say, where is Persia? Okay, located. So it's Iran today. See that? Where is Persia? So if you go look for your maps, let's go to your maps. And I'm going to say, where is Persia and Babylon? Even though they're older cities from before, but you could get a map of where was this before. Okay, so we're talking about what we call, let me see. I don't like Wiki. I'm always afraid of Wiki because Wiki sometimes has mistakes. There you go. This one's better. So we're talking about what we call the around Jerusalem, around the Holy Land. A lot of people call it the Holy Land. So this is Babylon, Babylon. And then we have all the area of Persia. See, Persia over here and Babylon. So in other words, we're talking about the Middle East. In 2021, we're talking about, from the Mediterranean Sea to maybe the Indian Sea, the Indian Ocean, Mediterranean Sea to the Indian Ocean, or the Persian Gulf, however you want to understand it, but you have to understand that it's around, the Middle Eastern, which also takes us back, to, this is 500 years before Christ, the fundamental area of a lot of the first cities of this area, right? So all of this is here. So that's a good clue. So Persia and Babylon. Okay. But it was his next action that marked a major advance for man. So this is your clue. When I ask you what was the main idea, what was the main inference, what is the main message, Cyrus Cylinder, he freed all slaves, declared that all people had the right to choose their religion, and established a racial equality. Okay, this is the main idea. It's underlined for you. Okay, but now I wanted for you to put it in your own words. What does that mean? What does it mean exactly? Like in 2021, what exactly does this mean? Okay, and
Well,
you could, go ahead, Miss Alicia.
The action he did until right now, we follow his law at that time, or his what can say actions, his actions.
Okay, very good.
To say free the slaves and declare all these people had the rights to choose the religion. It's amazing for that age, year.
Exactly. It's 500 years ago, okay, that somebody in this area, let's go back to our map, declared it. But now in 2021, we still have the same issues.
It's ironic, teacher.
There you
It's
go.
ironic.
Perfect. The GD could ask you things like that. This is a very critical moment that we're studying this. It is very critical because we are indeed studying this, but we're looking at it as a language arts, not as social studies, you guys. As social studies, we're thinking, wow, but they're still fighting. In language arts, we have to understand this is ironic. It's an
Yeah.
irony. So that is when it's an irony. An irony is that they say one thing, but they're actually doing another thing. Okay, so
Yeah.
that is the irony of this. The freedom, exactly. They're looking for freedom of religion, but there is no such thing. So this is like the beginning of freedom of religion that happened in 539 BC. That means, you guys, in math, that is 2021 plus 539
Yes.
years ago. So let's use our calculator. So look at this. So we have 2021 plus 539 years ago. 2,560 years ago. We still been. Mhm.
And they are the same almost.
Exactly.
They don't change. I
The
cannot believe.
people are still not changing. Now known today as the Cyrus Cylinder, this ancient record has now been recognized as the world's first charter. Charter means charter, like in Latin, carta, first document, okay, of human rights. It is translated into all 6 official languages in the United Nations, and its provisional parallel the first 4 articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, okay? So this is the beginning of human rights, okay, which talks about freedom of religion and no slavery. Freedom of religion, no slavery. That's it, you guys. Freedom of religion, no slavery. Now, that's the main idea. If you're going to, if we go back to the question that I asked you here on this right here, let me go ahead and see it. Let me see, let me view it. So on this one, I ask you, what is the main idea? What is the main message of the first one or each document? The Cyrus Cylinder is freedom of religion, no slavery. Freedom of religion, no slavery, bottom line. You could go into details, but the main idea is freedom of religion, no slavery, right? Now, the second one, the Magna Carta. So what did you get from this one? So from this one, okay, I'm going to help you a little bit so we could see the obvious. The obvious is that this is 1215 of this era, of common era, of this era. So that means that it is from, so let's do a little bit of math. Okay, so let's do a little bit of math. So I'm going to say 1215 plus 539. That means 1,754 years after this one. So 1,000, a little bit of math. So in this era, in 1215, we have another big development. What is the main idea of the Magna Carta? What is the main idea of the Magna Carta? What is the main message?
The human rights.
But everything is human rights, Ms. Bricia. Everything is human rights. So
the rights of the free of the citizens and
oh, okay, there you go. So the
freedom of religion and all this stuff again.
So the ones is that the clue is the word citizens. So for citizens, okay, rights of all free citizens. This one is freedom, no slavery, freedom of religion. This one is telling you there's also other rights. We have other rights that need to be protected, and those are the rights of all free citizens. Why do they say free? Not somebody who's in jail, not somebody who's being punished. Okay, we're talking about free citizens. Okay, so they're talking about the right to have property, to buy your house, your farm, the right to be protected from taxes. So the main idea of this one is now the human decisions, the right to remarry, the right to go to court. Due process means go to court. Due process. Okay, I don't know if you guys could hear a little bit of my TV is on, you guys. I apologize. I am listening to the the I'm not really listening to it. I'm paying attention. It's over there, but I am paying attention to the trial of the incident with Mr. George Floyd. So that court process is called due process. So they're telling you that everybody has the right to a trial. They cannot just be guilty automatically. They have to go to trial. That is called the due process. And the equality before the law. Everybody has to go to the law. Many people are saying, believe me, I hear the radios in the morning, oh, that police officer needs to go to jail. It doesn't matter if he's guilty, you guys, or not guilty in a video. Everybody has the right to a due process and equality before the law. It doesn't matter if right away it's obvious. Everybody has the right to go to court. That is due process. Okay. And also, it doesn't matter about religion, or it doesn't matter about, other people's culture. If a widow wants to be married or re-own married or anything, they could remarry. Because a lot of cultures, a lot of family members, a lot of religions will be like, you're married, that's it, no more. So all of this is calling them for the rights of citizens. So the main idea of the Magna Carta is all now the rights for citizens. This is yeah. So this is freedom of religion and no slavery, right? This one is, right of citizens to do their property, but keep in mind that it built, it's like a Lego. So we have the Cyrus cylinder and now we have the Magna Carta. Now, my question to you is the obvious. What do you understand that is happening in order for a document like this to be created? Has anybody ever heard that? In every language has a saying, has a quote. Does anybody know what I'm talking about when I say, what happened in order for this to happen? What happened before? And it's called an inference.
What happened before they did the Magna Carta?
What do you understand happened before? So basically, my question is, okay, what happened? What can you infer? Because this is an inference. What can you infer occurred for something to be created?
Nobody has liberty or any kind of right.
Exactly.
In the violation of the laws?
Violation. So violation of law, violation of law, violation of, rights
Liberty.
to a jury, to a liberty to marry, even to marry, you guys, because
Or religion.
Or religion. This is one of those sayings that every culture, it doesn't matter what language you speak, because it happens everywhere. When you have let's imagine, this is critical thinking, you guys. This is critical thinking. And like I said, sometimes we don't want to we understand it, but it's so hard to explain it. Let's imagine that you have a house. You have a house and you have a little doggy. I am really bad at drawing doggies. My doggy looks like a bicycle. There you go. You have a doggy, right? And you have a doggy and you have a house. And your doggy keeps going to your neighbor's house. What is the first thing what are you going to build in order to stop your doggy to go to your neighbor's house? A fence. But you built a fence until your doggy wants to cross over. That is the inference. You have to understand, why did they make this rule? Because there was an abuse before the king signed, before he signed the Magna Carta. there was a lot of abuse. Magna Carta. There you go, Carta.
Yeah, a lot of abuse.
And you have to understand that this is like the house. People first, before you make a rule, something was already broken. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And that has to be the inference. A lot of people, I know my Spanish culture, but in my Spanish culture, and not only in Mexico, but all Spanish speaking, and maybe also in Portuguese. I'm pretty sure it's in Portuguese because I believe the saying is in Italian. But there's a saying that people say, okay, so you guys know a well, right? There's a well. There's a well that you get water, right? That there's like a little, I am so bad at drawing, but there's like a little basket, right? And you know that you go get water here, right? Everybody's okay with my upside down well? I don't even know if it's a well, but this is a well. Okay. So if this is the well and people and the well basically is, like this, there is a saying in it, I believe it's Italian, that nobody takes care of the well until a child falls into it. Once the child falls into it, that is when people start putting gates. Does that make sense? You guys?
Yes.
Right? And that is basically what they're saying. They're saying that when a law is created, something happened that caused that law to be created. It didn't just happen automatically. It happened because at that moment, something very critical happened that we needed it. Do you see? And that is called critical thinking analysis. Same thing here. You have to understand that in 1215, the Magna Carta, they had to make this this letter because in 1215, there was a very corrupt king. King John was corrupt. And the people, the citizens, said, look, King John, either you give us rights or we're going to literally kill you, or we're going to behead you, or we're going to kick you out. And nicer ways, you guys, kill you. Because we're not sugarcoating it. We're GD. And the GD, all of this is being taught to 17 and 18-year-olds in high school. So basically, the Magna Carta, you have to understand that establishes principles, okay, officially, because the king was forced to understand. The good thing is that King John understood. He didn't put any resistance, which also makes you understand that he was also a very wise man. There's wise men that are stubborn, and there's wise men that are like, okay, you know what? I understand. I'll give you guys the right. And this is 1215. But then what happens? How many years? From here to here, how many years?
More than 400?
About 400 years, people forgot again. And in 400 years, after the Inquisition, after everything that's happening in Europe, a group of pilgrims, they come to America. America is, started to grow little by little. Remember in 1620, but in England, when people started to run away from England, in England, there was a milestone. The word milestone means a big change, a milestone, a big change, a big improvement. And they developed the Petition of Rights by King Charles I. And this is a statement of civil liberties. But what is the main idea of this one, you guys? What was the big moment for this one? What is this? How is this one different from the Magna Carta and the Cyrus Cylinder? Anybody? Anybody? What is the main difference? It's very short. This one's very short. What do you see? How is this one different from the Magna Carta? And how is this one different from the Cider Cylinder? Anybody? This is language arts, you guys. This is not social studies. I'm using social studies to see if you're able to understand the reading. Read right here, right here, right here.
Again, citizen
Parliament now.
right, teacher?
Okay, the citizens' rights. Okay, that's good. And what did you say, Sandra? Go ahead.
It now is a parliament that can rule and watch for that everything is correct.
Very
in
good.
use.
Now, so the citizens, like, so both of you guys are right, Ms. Bricia and Sandra. So yes, now we have the citizens' right to vote, and then parliament. And if you're wondering what is parliament, you guys, be wise, you guys. Use your Google friend, and say, what is parliament? Don't wait until Ms. Rosie explains it to you, because we're adults. You could look up what is parliament.
Where the rules are made.
Exactly. Parliament, okay, is basically a department of partial people that represent. So parliament, what is parliament? Then I'm gonna say, explain, and we could have it. Google is really good, you guys. Google will explain to you. Google is your best friend. So parliament is basically a legislative body of government, okay, made by the people that function to represent, elect, and make laws. So it's almost like the judicial, like the three branches, check and balances. But here, parliament is a big group. In the United States, we have Congress, which is two groups, but it's very similar. But parliament works very close with the king. So here, now we understand that parliament, a group that works near the king, is making sure that people are voting for their rights, that people are making the right to vote. For example, they want to make sure that they have, the right to bring evidence, right? The right to no soldiers. You don't have to force somebody to take care of a soldier. Many years ago, you guys, and not only many years ago, I saw it in Mexico. A lot of people are forced to take care of the soldiers. The soldiers have their own base. They have their own place that they have to be taken care of. The citizens should not be forced to be taking care of soldiers. And then martial law may not be used in time of peace. If it's peace, we don't need military law. But if we're not in peace, then we might need martial law. Martial law should only be used during a war. And this is 1624. Do you guys remember? Did you guys remember? Pay attention to this, okay? Because this is where you are now government, language arts, English students, all of them. In the high school level, we learned this at 12th grade, government, economics, language arts, English. Do you remember a year ago, a lot of people and a lot of my students, they asked me privately, they never asked me in class, but they asked me privately, and they told me, Ms. Rosie, is it true, or Rosie, is it true that Mr. Trump could bring the National Guard to force us inside the houses? That is martial law, you guys, when they start to bring soldiers, not only the National Guard. So we say, what is martial law? So martial law is basically an imposition of direct military control. And a lot of people ask me, they did, you guys, not only my students, a lot of people, my family members, my kids ask me, Mom, what is martial law? And I go, martial law is when the military comes into the cities and controls the city. Could that happen? Is that true? Could Mr. Trump do that? Now you know the answer, you guys. Because
Not because we are in peace.
exactly, where maybe they could come and help if it would have gotten out of control, if people were fighting at Costco or shooting people and it's a civil war, then yes. But you guys, did we really need martial law? I went to Costco when everything happened, and I remember standing in line for 1 hour to go buy my food. I understood that, but it was peaceful. Everybody was 6 feet apart. People were coming in. Did we need martial law?
No.
So according to this, and this is 1628, you guys. And this is, if we take away 2021 minus, 1628, this is 393 years ago. 400 years after the Magna Carta, and now it's 393, right? 393 years ago from now. And this is so this is also talking about the situations that could happen in 2021. So maybe in 2021 and in 1628, something similar was happening in England. But maybe not because of COVID-19, maybe because of religious prosecution. Bless you. Religious prosecution. Remember, in 1628, a lot of people were being knocked in the door, and they were like, okay, if you're Protestant, this way. If you're Catholic, this way. If you're Christian, this way. If you don't have money, this way. And people were like, no. We need to vote to make sure that the king is doing his job. England is very big. We no longer want, inquisitions. We need to start making laws. And this is the beginning. But nothing is perfect, because then people forget. We get another king, and King Charles became King George, little by little. And King George didn't respect any of this. So in 1776, because King Charles was no longer alive, King George started to abuse power. That is the inference. You have to remember that in between years, okay, so let's go, I'll draw it here. So we have to remember that in between years, so we have, for example, 500 BC, and then we have 1215, and then we have 1620s, and then we have 1776, and then we have 1812, and then we have 1845, and then we have 1865, and then we have 1880s, and then we have 1900s, and then we have 1920s, and then we have 1940s, and then we have the 1950s. You have to see the obvious, not only in the stories, you guys, because in the stories it's the same way. The stories, something happens in between. There is a cause and effect. There is a cause and effect. Cause and effect. I could repeat this in every single one of them. I'm going to repeat it here, cause and effect. The War of 1812, cause and effect. Manifest Destiny and the expansion of the West, cause and effect. The Civil War, the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, cause and effect. The 1880s, cause and effect. Everything has a cause and effect. And that's how the GED is going to use speeches in language arts. And it's you, the reader, that needs to understand the message. Don't just read the stories and think, oh, it's happily ever after. No, you guys, there's always a cause and effect. There's always a cause and effect. Even right now in 2021, April 19th, 2021 at 11:38, why are we on Zoom? Why are you on Zoom? What is the cause of the effect of us being on Zoom? Let's go back. So why are we on Zoom?
Because of the pandemic of coronavirus.
Okay, so the pandemic, we are on, so on April, so we have April, I'm gonna put it here. So we're going backwards, 4, COVID-19. Critical thinking, you guys, and everybody participate. This is interesting. Okay, we are today, we continue on Zoom. Because why?
The pandemic
The pandemic
on March 2020.
that started on March 2020 has not finished because why? Come on, you guys, be brutal, be honest, be mature, be brutal. What is brutal? Be honest. Like in the class, I will tell you like this. Be honest. Why are we still on Zoom?
Because a lot of people doesn't take care of everybody
Okay.
by themselves or everybody else around them.
Do
So
not
they
follow
feel confused.
precautions because why?
And because not everybody have the vaccine too.
Not everyone have the vaccine or want the vaccine.
Excuse me?
Want the vaccine.
Not everyone, okay, is willing. The word is willing.
Yeah.
Is willing to take the vaccine.
To
Is
be
willing
vaccinated.
Correct.
to get vaccinated. And this is freedom of choice. Because
Not everybody believe on this one. It's
believe
Period.
in COVID-19 because why don't people believe, not everyone believes in COVID-19 because I could be honest, I'm gonna be brutal and honest, critical thinking. They
Well,
have not been affected because
Okay.
believe me, the minute that you're affected, you believe in it. I got COVID, I believe in it. My uncle passed away, I believe in it. Very respectfully, many of you believe it because you've been affected. But a lot of people still don't believe because they haven't been affected. They
And the
don't,
me-
we go
yeah.
back to philosophy until they see, they believe. They
Yeah,
don't see, they don't believe.
yeah, that's true.
And do you see the due to because? So it could be because. Because in 2019-21, today we continue Zoom because the pandemic that started in March 20 has not finished because people do not follow precautions because, and we could say, and you could see the details, they don't wear masks. Okay. We could say many do not social distance. Many continue to, I don't know, to live normally, which is fine,
and
but you cannot be
they're
blinded.
like,
This is ethos, pathos, logos. You cannot be blinded just because you don't want to talk about it. In
Correct.
social studies, in language arts, you're going to get stories that you don't like. And a lot of students, a lot of you as students, not you as just you as my class, a lot of you, even if you're listening to the recording, a lot of people, they're like, oh, they were talking about Hitler. It is what it is. They were talking about, Don Quixote, for example. It is what it is. They're talking about Shakespeare. Every story, every situation, if they give you something about human rights, cause and effect. If they give you something about Don Quixote, cause and effect. If they give you stories, let's go back to all the stories that I have given you. If they give you a story of the necklace, right? The necklace, cause and effect. Let's go back to the stories. If they give you, let's see, where does it start? I think right here. If they give you the stories of the necklace, cause and effect. If they give you the story of Adam and Eve, the funny one from who was it? I forgot his name. Not Oliver's Twist. Well, the one that I gave you here. If they give you Oliver's Twist, cause and effect. If they give you, the necklace, cause and effect. If they give you about the train, remember the gentleman who was on the train, cause and twist. If they give you the Odyssey, cause and effect. If they give you any story that they give you, you have to identify the theme, the main idea, the message, the inference, what is being hidden, what they're trying to make you understand, because you are adults. The GED is not middle school, you guys. The GED is for an 18-year-old and above. So if they give you the mouse, remember the blind guy? I mean, I'm sorry, the blind girl in the train, the mouse. You have to understand that this guy was very arrogant. Does it mention anywhere in the story? No, but the cause and effect of his whole situation is because he is arrogant, right? What else? The funny story of Adam and Eve. If my new students, you guys, Mark Twain, there you go. The Adam and Eve story told differently. That's funny. It's satire. It's black humor, but it's satire. It makes you laugh. It makes you giggle, but it's true. And all of this, you guys, is based the brown chest. All of this, if you read any of this, is the same thing as reading something like this. Whatever you read, cause and effect. Inference. What is being hidden? Look at the obvious, you guys. I'm giving you the obvious here. Why are we still in the pandemic? Because people, tomato. A lot of people refuse to wear masks. A lot of people still refuse to social distance. A lot of people still don't want to take the precautions. A lot of people do not want to take the vaccine. And it's freedom of choice. We respect that. But tomato, either way, the point is cause and effect.
Probably in communist countries, they have more control, but no in African.
I like that. I like how you said that, cause and effect. What is the cause? Look, so let's go to let's ask Google, which country, and there's one country, which country has the fewest COVID cases? Okay. And look, are you guys ready? Because I know the answer, but I'm gonna show you. The country with the fewest COVID cases. Let's find it. Let me see. I want the actual map. Let's see if I could get you the map. And it's exactly what Ms. Brice is saying, is because they have a cause and effect. If you are caught outside the streets, without a mask, you will go to jail and you will be tortured.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, look, this one. Let's look at this one. I want to find the one because I know it's which I think I know for a fact it was like let's see, which are the fewest? Okay, which has the fewest COVID cases? And I'm gonna say map. I want the actual map because you might get this, you guys. You might not get it for coronavirus, but you might get it for the map of the Spanish flu or cancer or AIDS or whatever it is that it's global pandemics that have changed the history of the world. The history of the world is changed by this. Look at this, you guys. You see that? Nobody's in white because everybody has one case or another. The only one that is not here, don't forget Antarctica, but humans don't live in Antarctica, you guys. It's too cold. So look at the socialist and communist countries.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear about the gentleman, cause and effect, critical thinking, and the Philippines? Okay. And I'm gonna say man dies. Okay, out of punishment. In the Philippines, a young man, about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, he went outside to buy water. He went to buy water, and he was out of his house before the time. He had to be home by 6 p.m. and 5 a.m. They made him do so much exercise. That was a punishment. The punishment was that you have to do exercise until you were so much pain. This is true story, you guys, cause and effect. He had to do 300 squats. Do you guys know what squats are?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does anybody want me to show you what squats are? Everybody's okay with squats? Be honest. Okay, so everybody knows what squats are. Okay. So he had to do 300 squats that then he couldn't move anymore. And unfortunately, because his body was so sore, the next morning, or I think at that same night, his body went into cardiac arrest. I don't know the whole details, but basically he couldn't walk. So this is him. I'm sorry, the commercials. And I want you to understand the cause and effect. This is a country that has very different laws from the United States freedom. Freedom is good and bad. You have the freedom to not want to get the vaccine. You have the freedom to go outside and take off your mask if you want that. You have the freedom, but when is it a law and when is it a human abuse of power? I'm sorry, my computer, I think, froze. So basically, this is true, you guys. If you get a story, believe me, you're not going to get a story like this one because this is modern. But in the real GD, you're going to get any story. In the language charts, you might get social studies, or you might get a story like the brown chest or anything. You have to see the obvious. And then once you get the theme, then you understand the pattern. Now we go to math. Look at the pattern. Let's look at the pattern. You make a rule, people forget it, then you make another one. Then people forget, and then you make another one. Then people forget, and you make another one. Then people forget, and you make it. Well, this one made it official. People, you make a law, you make something, Declaration of Independence, but you have to make it official. And then people will again forget. And then people will go a little by little, forget. And then you come back. And then you go back. And all of this ends up being the story of life. Now that you see why a lot of people say the world is world, it has always been the same. We make something new, and then people will forget. And then you have to remind them. And then people will forget. And it's cause and effect. And we go back to what came first, the chicken or now do you understand what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Mhm.
Same thing here, you guys. The chicken or the egg. That's critical thinking. It's philosophy. It's rhetoric. The chicken? And who made the chicken? The chicken just appeared? See, it's interesting, you guys. The chicken or the egg, right? What came first, the chicken or the egg? So it's very interesting. So all of this is basically philosophy, language arts, rhetoric. So that's the reason that I tell you that if you could pass your social studies, you could also pass your language arts or your language arts social studies, as long as you know how to interpret things. Okay. So I'm going to finish. This class didn't see it, but you guys have seen it. Now that you know this, look how interesting it is, because I showed this to my first period. Well, they didn't see this one, but you guys are my advanced class. Look how beautiful this is, you guys. You know how to read now. Not just like read. I know you know how to read, but you guys know how to analyze and use rhetoric, ethos, pathos, logos, grammar, commas. You know the importance of a comma. You know the importance of a situation and an inference and irony and satire and hidden messages. That now that you understand all of this and you have critical thinking, you're also going to be able to understand any story differently. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and play this quick video. And you guys have seen it many times because I played this video all the time. So let me go ahead and play it. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and get it started.
Human rights is, geez, that's a good question.
Human rights. Well, that's a tough one.
Wow.
I don't even know how to give that a definition.
I would probably have to do a little bit of homework or something.
Any right that I think just as a normal, human,
The rights that humans have?
Oh, that's a very large debate.
Tú le puedes preguntar a 20 personas y te van a dar 20 diferentes opiniones.
Non saprei, è una domanda complicatissima.
I guess we just take them for granted that they're there, but we don't even consider what they are.
Human rights are the rights you have simply because you're human. It's how you instinctively expect and deserve to be treated as a person, like the right to live freely, to speak your mind, and to be treated as an equal. There are many kinds of rights. Most apply to a certain group. But human rights are the only ones that apply to absolutely everyone, everywhere. That means kids, old people, poor people, basketball players, garbage men, rappers, teachers, Africans, Indians, Albanians, Christians, Muslims, Kabbalists, atheists, your mom, your dad, your next door neighbor, and you all have the exact same human rights. In other words, they're universal. But the question remains, what are they?
Name the human rights?
What the human rights are?
The right to live.
Equality between all peoples.
Right to religion, the right to...
Is there supposed to be a list somewhere I should be aware of?
According to the United Nations, there are a total of 30 human rights, which are usually lumped together and called simply human rights. They're all listed out in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is the world's most widely accepted document on the subject. But it was a long time in coming. At first, there were no human rights. If you were in with the right crowd, you were safe. If you weren't, well, you weren't. But then a guy named Cyrus the Great decided to change all that. After conquering Babylon, he did something completely revolutionary. He announced that all slaves were free to go. He also said people had the freedom to choose their religion, no matter what crowd they were a part of. They documented his words on a clay tablet known as the Cyrus Cylinder. And just like that, human rights were born. The idea spread quickly to Greece, to India, and eventually to Rome. They noticed that people naturally followed certain laws, even if they weren't told to. They called this natural law, but it kept getting trampled on by those in power. Not until 1,000 years later in England did they finally get a king to agree that no one can overrule the rights of the people, not even a king. People's rights were finally recognized, and they were now safe from those in power. Kind of. It still took a bunch of British rebels declaring their independence before the king got the point that all men are created equal. Which isn't to say he liked the idea, but he couldn't stop them, and America was born. The French immediately followed with their own revolution for their own rights. Their list was even longer, and they insisted that these rights weren't just made up. They were natural. The Roman concept of natural law had become natural rights. Unfortunately, not everyone was so thrilled. In France, a general named Napoleon decided to overthrow the new French democracy and crown himself emperor of the world. He almost succeeded, but the countries of Europe joined forces and defeated him. Human rights was again a hot topic. They drew up international agreements, broadly granting many rights across Europe. But only across Europe. The rest of the world somehow still didn't qualify. Instead, they got invaded, conquered, and consumed by Europe's massive empires. But then a young lawyer from India decided enough was enough. His name was Mahatma Gandhi, and in the face of violence, he insisted that all people of Earth had rights, not just in Europe. Eventually, even Europeans started to agree. But it wasn't going to be that easy. 2 world wars erupted. Hitler exterminated half the Jewish population of Earth in horrifying Nazi death camps. And all told, 90 million people died. Never had human rights been so terrifyingly close to extinction. And never had the world been more desperate for change. So the countries of Earth banded together and formed the United Nations. Their basic purpose was to reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person. But what were human rights? Were they the proclamations of Cyrus, the natural laws of Rome, the declarations of France? Everyone seemed to have a slightly different idea of what human rights should be. But under the supervision of Eleanor Roosevelt, they finally agreed on a set of rights that applied to absolutely everyone. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The French concept of natural rights had finally become human rights. So, in summary, at first, only a few lucky people had any rights, until one of those guys decided, hey, other people should have some rights too, which was great, except not everyone agreed. And it only took a few thousand years of fighting and declarations and more fighting until everyone finally agreed that human rights should apply to everyone. And they all lived happily ever after. Except for one little problem. If people have the right to food and shelter, why are 16,000 children dying of starvation every day? 1 every 5 seconds. If people have freedom of speech, why are thousands in prison for speaking their minds? If people have the right to education, why are over 1 billion adults unable to read? If slavery has truly been abolished, why are 27 million people still enslaved today? More than twice as many as in 1800. The fact is, when it was signed, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights did not have the force of law. It was optional. And despite many more documents, conventions, treaties, and laws, it's still little more than words on a page. So the question is, who will make those words a reality?
I have a dream today.
When Dr. King marched for racial equality, he was marching for rights that had been guaranteed by the United Nations for almost 2 decades. But still, he marched. When Nelson Mandela stood up for social justice in the 1990s, his country had already agreed to abolish such discrimination for almost 40 years. But still, he fought. Those who fight today against torture, poverty, and discrimination are not giants or superheroes. They're people. Kids, mothers, fathers, teachers. Free-thinking individuals who refuse to be silent. Who realize that human rights are not a history lesson. They're not words on a page. They're not speeches or commercials or PR campaigns. They are the choices we make every day as human beings. They are the responsibility we all share to respect each other, to help each other, and to protect those in need. As Eleanor...
Okay, so having that said, beautiful video, huh? It is a beautiful video. And it has a little bit more, you guys. It's on my website. It has a little bit more of an explanation, but I want to make sure I have enough time to explain all of this. So bottom line is, let me turn on my camera. Bottom line is, you guys, that in the GD, they are expecting you to, in social studies, in science, in language arts, to understand the history of why a question is important. So the GD is an understanding of the writing, the reading, and the choices that you're going to make to prove to a test that you know and understand all of this. Even if it's a story, even if they give you a story of, Frederick Douglass, you understand. If they give you a speech of Martin Luther King or Franklin Delano Roosevelt or John F. Kennedy, you understand. If they give you a story, of, let's go back to that era. If they give you a story of Romeo and Juliet's a little bit after, but they give you a story of Romeo and Juliet and how 2 families didn't get along and they were always fighting with each other, and 2 lovers fell in love, or 2 teenagers fall in love, and the family broke them apart. What is the main idea? What is the message? If they give you a story, of Napoleon or somebody's arrogance, somebody being arrogant, like in the Mouse, or a story of like the Necklace, of people who want to feel more or less more than people, you understand the main idea. So when you're reading anything, the language arts or social studies, you guys, it's not difficult when you start to see that from the beginning, even BC, all the way down to 2021, it's the same somehow. The cause and effect, the main idea, the theme, the understanding is very similar. Does that make sense, you guys? Yes, no, maybe so?
Yes, absolutely.
I think the hardest part for many of you is going to be the vocabulary. That's a different story. Like I said, that's language arts, knowing how to understand the language, the words. But if you understand it and you approach a GD question with maturity, it doesn't become difficult, you guys. Somebody give me a year. Somebody give me a year. Let's go try it here. Somebody give me a year from 1900 to 20. Well, let's go back. Let's go to 2001. Somebody give me a year. Somebody choose a year. Anybody.
1940s.
Give me a very specific year. So 1940 what? What year? 1940?
41.
1941. Perfect. So I'm going to go like this, you guys. I'm going to ask Google to help me as a teacher. I'm going to say short story based on 1941. Short story. Just a short story. So I'm going to get, let's see, the best short stories of 1941. Let's see if I could get something. Let me see. Or I'm going to put it this way. Okay, famous authors of 1940. So I'm going to go 40s, and then we'll go for 1941. Okay, so I'm going to choose, do we have a good 1941? I'm looking for 41. And most likely the story is going to be about the Great Depression, something to do with the Great Depression, 1940, 1943. Let's go to 1943 because I cannot find another one. So I'm going to go to, has anybody ever read this one? This is a famous story, The Little Prince.
Yes, teacher.
You know, it's a famous story, The Little Prince. I think it's translated.
It's in
Yeah.
Spanish. El Principito.
And what is the story about? So so tell me, what is the story of The Little Prince about? What is the main idea of The Little Prince? So look at this, you guys. It has to do with a movement. It has to do with history. Meet the little prince, a young fellow who hails from the tiny distant planet. He loves to watch sunset and look at his flowers, to ask questions and to laugh. And now here is on Earth, appearing out of nowhere in the middle of the desert, looking for a friend. See? The prince might be just a boy, but he can help our pilot because he understands the really important things of life.
Mm-hmm.
Things like flowers, stars, drink of water, and laughing.
Mm-hmm.
This is 1941, you guys. This is a time after the Great Depression of America, a time of a lot of racism.
Yeah.
A time where a lot of people were still, go back to The Necklace. Remember the movie? The short story, The Necklace? She valued more how other people made her feel. So this whole story, the main idea will tell you that he makes you understand that in reality, sometimes what is more valuable are the little things. See, that's the main idea. That's the theme. So this is one of those. What if they give you another one? Let's see, somebody give me another year. Or give me an era. An era is better because I think the year I can't find, be specific, and it's random. So somebody give me another era from 1900s to 2001. Anybody?
The 60s.
1960s. Okay, so 1960s. And I'm going to change it a little bit. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say 1960s. How about a speech? Famous speeches by women of the 1960s. Let's say that because we don't know. And you're going to be like, let's find somebody that we don't know. No John F. Kennedy, no Martin Luther King. Let's find somebody that we do not know. Okay, so let's go to the famous speeches of the 1900s, of 1960s. Okay, so let's find, okay, so Virginia Woolf, let's make sure, okay, so she wrote, that 1920, I want 1960s. Give me 1 second. Because the GD is going to do this to you. They're going to give you just random speeches, random stories, and you have to understand the cause and effect that are giving you that speech. So 1951, let's look at, let's see. Let me see if I could take two sections. Let's see. This is 1913. So I'm going to look 1960s. Let's see if I could find something.
The one that you just passed, she was trying to, she gave a very famous speech about
Oh, yeah.
slavery for learning.
Exactly. But that
Because
was
it was very, very hard for her to learn, and she was once trying to be killed
and what
for
year?
going to school.
What year?
I don't
in the beginning of the 1800s, going back to there was a story that we read about a girl who just wanted to go to school. She just wants to go to school. Let's see. I want to find a good one. These are all modern.
Yeah.
I have her book.
Oh yeah, that's good. See, that's good. So believe me, the GED social studies is going to be easy for you. I'm gonna say must include 1960s. I'm going to put, for example, Martin Luther King's wife, because I know she used a beautiful one. Oh, I just got one. 1960s. I am going to say Dolores Huerta. It just hit me right now because it was the same time. So Dolores Huerta, even if you don't know who she is, so I'm going to say speech, because Dolores Huerta started around 19. Speech by, if you guys know who she is, good. If you don't, listen to her speech. It's 1960s. People are fighting for rights. And this is Dolores Huerta. Her last name is Hispanic, so it makes you feel, okay, she's Hispanic. Look at the stories that she's telling you, or the speeches that she's telling you. She is trying to organize a National Farm Workers Association. And the whole speech, it's about respecting the migrant people that come to work for farm workers in California. You don't need to read the whole thing, you guys. In the real GD, you don't need to read the whole thing, because believe me, you're going to run out of time. But the more that you know about history, about a story, you're going to understand this. What if you get a story about the 1960s and you get, for example, the house on Mango Street? And I think this was more like in the 70s, but the house, let's say that you get this. If you guys have never read this story, no problem. What if you get this story from the house on Mango Street, and you're going to be thinking like, what is this story about? Think of the era. Think of the year. Think of the cause and effect that is happening in the world when you're reading and somebody's making a story. So if you look at this by Sandra Cisneros, the story is a big story. The story is called The House on Mango Street. The year that it was written is not in 1984. So I'm a little bit off, 1984, a lot big off. So this is not 1980s. And she's talking to you about living in a house on Mango Street. And she's talking about her mama, her papa, Carlos, Kiki, and her sister, Neni. Have you guys ever read this book, this story? Have you guys ever heard it?
Yeah, I brought it, but I give it a gift for my husband.
What can you infer is the story's about? Let's say that you never read this, and I'm telling you, she's talking about her mama, her papa, Carlos, Kiki, Carlos, right away, that's your clue. Mama, papa, her friend, Sandra Cisneros. What could you infer the story is about? What is happening in the 1980s in America? Anybody? Lottery ticket? The mama dream up of stories? What do you think it is? Don't read it. Just tell me, what do you believe? Make a hypothesis, a theory, a guess.
About the life she lived.
And what culture is she? Hispanic. This is a story about a Hispanic little girl who grew up on Mango Street in the 1980s, not rich, and her stories about her life in the 1980s. That is your clue. Don't just read the words, you guys. My message for you today is that when you're reading these stories in the language arts or in social studies, don't just read the story and get stuck in the vocabulary. Yeah. Think of the message of the era. You have to look at the date. You have to look at the title. You have to look and think what's happening in the world. If you read an excerpt, if you have an excerpt of, for example, excerpt Anne Frank, okay, excerpt, and you have no idea who is Anne Frank. Let's imagine that you have no idea who's Anne Frank, but they're telling you that this is a story about a little girl of living in June 20th, 1942. And they're telling you that this is Germany and she is Jewish. What is the story about? See? The story is about the poor little young girl who is Jewish in the middle of a country who is killing Jewish people.
Holocaust.
And how she makes a friend, has a family friend who is hiding them. So the whole story is her diary. And she's telling you the stories of the mom and the dad and the people who are hiding them, and how the people who are hiding them they could get in trouble. They could get killed too for hiding them. So don't panic on the vocabulary and say, I don't understand the vocabulary. That is the number one thing that I always hear people saying about the language arts and the social studies. They get so stuck on the vocabulary that they cannot understand or finish that they forget to feel. And I go, what was the story about? It was about, an example, Anne Frank. Okay, do you know who Anne Frank? Yeah, she was a Jewish. Then why didn't you understand the story? I don't understand the vocabulary. The vocabulary is not the issue. The main idea is the issue. So that's my main purpose with you, that whatever story they give you, if they give you a speech or a story, if they give you a story, let's see, if they give you an excerpt of Mice and Men, okay? And you guys have never read any of the stories of Mice and Men, okay? And you're thinking like, what is this about? Well, always look at the year. Look at the year, okay? If they give you this is the whole book, but if they give you the story and they say, this is written in 1937, that it was copyrighted in 1965, but it's based off of 1937. And you're talking about a story, right? And they're telling you details. They're going to give you details. This story is about a gentleman, okay, who was very, very, very big, very tall, like 6 feet tall, but he was mentally delayed. Very respectfully, a lot of people understand the word mentally retarded, mentally handicapped. And the whole story is about how a friend has to watch his very big friend has to take care of him. But one day he gets in trouble and he cannot protect him anymore because he is 6 feet, 200 something pounds, and he's getting in trouble because he has a mentality of a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. So this is why am I telling you this? Because in 1937, people did not want to protect handicapped adults. They kept them in chains. Did you guys know that? We go back to abuse of human rights. A lot of people that were born with Down syndrome or autistic or disabled, a lot of people were mentally, physically abused because in this era, in 1937, people did not protect human rights of mentally delayed adults. So even if the reading is hard, did you get the main idea?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't even read it. I just told you the main idea. The main idea is the whole story. It tells you about how, Lenny is getting in a lot of trouble and George has to take care of him. But at the end of the story, it doesn't matter where you get it. At the end of the story, Lenny he does something that nobody could protect him from. He breaks he's a 2-year-old, and mentally 2-year-old. So all of this, it doesn't matter where you get it. Always look at the year. and the message. It doesn't matter which one they give you. Okay. So having that said, okay, it's already almost time to go. I want to make sure that I give you homework because this is really important. I had already given you homework from before, but I want to make sure that you guys continue. On your Aztec, some of you already have it, some of you don't. So I'm going to make sure that I'm giving it to you. I am going to give you Flash. So I want you to, everybody, to start using GED Flash. What is GED Flash? Flashes of the real GED. Flashes of the real questions from the real GED. There's 1,000 questions, you guys. I don't know which question you're going to get, but the more that you practice, the better. So I want to make sure that everybody has it. So let me make sure from the beginning that everybody has. Angelita Castellanos, yes, you have Flash. Who else is right here? Veronica, I know you have Flash. Nadie, let me make sure that you have your Flash. So I'm going to go Nadie. Nadie, what's your last name again? Nadie. What is it again? Oh, there you go. There you go. I just found it. You have Aztec, right, Nadie, or no?
Yes, I have it.
Okay, so I want to make sure that I give it to you. There you go. That's because I was misspelling it. Nadie, Aztec, GED Flash, Social Studies. I might give you the other ones. So I'm going to give you Flash for language arts. I'm going to give you all of them. That way, if you want to use for math, you could have it for math. I'm going to give it to you for language arts for sure. Okay, and I'm going to give it for you for science. Okay, so you have it now. Okay, who else do I have? Miss Bricia, I think you have Flash. Miss Bricia.
Can you please tell us how to go there?
I'll show you right now. Let me make sure that everybody has it. Yes, you have Flash. Let me make sure I'm looking over here. Sandra, I want to make sure that you have it. Sandra, what's your last name, Sandra? If you don't mind.
Picon, P-I-C-O-N.
Picon, Mrs. Picon. Let's see. And you don't have Flash yet? Or you do?
No, I don't think.
Oh, I need to give it to you. Okay. Sandra Picon. I did give it to you. I just, Mr. Pedraza gave it to you, right? The Aztec. The Aztec.
Yes,
okay, so now I'm gonna give you Flash and I'm gonna show you how to open it. Okay, so that way. So let me go ahead and give everybody Flash. So I'm gonna give Flash. I need to do it one by one, you guys. I apologize. But I want to make sure that you guys understand now that please do not, the GED, you guys, realistically, the GED is made for students who are graduating from high school. They want our young adults and older adults, bless you, older adults and younger adults to understand the concepts of critical thinking. So the GED is not to the point that is super, crazy hard. It is common sense. Christina, you already have Flash. Norma, what is your last name, Norma?
Delgado, teacher.
Thank you, Norma. I think I just had you, Norma. Why my computer doesn't want to find this one. Norma Delgado. There you go. Do you have GED Flash for mathematics? Let me give you GED Flash for language arts as well. Okay. And like I said, the reason we never gave you language arts before is because it becomes kind of difficult. This is very realistic to the real GED. The more that you do Flash, the more that you'll get more associated with the real GED. Okay, and then make sure. No, I don't have it. Hold on. Why is it giving me the other one? Oh, that's why. Okay, so I'm gonna give you Flash. And then who else do I have? And then Mujida, you already have Flash, correct? I think so. I think
yes.
So let me go ahead and make sure that everybody has Flash from my classes. And if anybody is listening to the recording, make sure you guys send me a message on Remind so I could put Flash. Okay, so let me show you now. I'm gonna go ahead and show you on my account. You know what I'll use? Let me see. I'll use Angelita as an example because you guys looks very similar. So you're gonna go over to your Flash. I'm gonna go ahead and show you through Angelita's account. Everybody's looks the same. So you're gonna log in. You're gonna go to View Classroom, and you're going to have these GED Flash, all of these.
Okay.
The minute that you click here, you'll go to the, reading, for example, and they give you flashes of 10, but they're never the same question. So don't just do it one day. Do it every single day until you pass your GED, because when you take it again, it gives you a new set. And look, you're going to do the same thing that I just told you. You're going to look at the title and you're going to go and look at the year. If you have a year, awesome. If you don't have a year, then it's a story. You're going to understand the story. Okay, By the Waters of Paradise. So this is something to do with natural, something. Charles is, you're going to read it. And you're going to go to the question and you're going to do it, And if you get their answer wrong, it's going to explain to you why you got it wrong. This is parallelism. Look, this is grammar. See, just from last week, parallelism. That's why it doesn't have a year, because they're asking you about grammar. Okay, so parallelism. And then you're going to go to the next one. You're going to do the same thing. And when you submit it, you submit the flash. When you go back, you get a new set. You never get the same set again. It's very rare. You're going to get maybe the same question, but in a different set. And then you close it, and maybe you go tomorrow, you try it again, and you have reading and for meaning, grammar and language, and identifying arguments. Guess what? Like it say here, 33, no, that's not true. 33% of, no, you guys, in reality, the real GED, the majority of the real GED comes from here and here. This is only, like Christina said, only about 10 questions. So you have to focus on the first one, on this one, and focus on this one. Okay? And try it, and try it, and try it, and try it. Every time that you go back, they give you a new set. Every time that you go back, it's a new set. Okay? So try your best to do it, because like I said, it's for practice. Okay, the same thing is going to happen in social studies. So let's go back to classroom. So I'm going to go to view classrooms. I'm going to try social studies. And see, the same thing is going to happen here. The majority is going to come from historical events and reading. Using numbers and graphs, not too much. It's going to be from these two. But I want you to study everything, but I want you to understand where the majority of the test is going to come from. And these are flashes of GED. Now, we're going to try to do this as much as possible, you guys, because like I said, it's April 19th. You have 4 weeks to pass as many tests as possible. I'm going to be very honest and blunt. Take a test. If you don't take a test, when you go on summer vacation, your mentality will also go on summer vacation. Even for teachers, you guys, believe me, I'm like, what am I going to teach? So you guys take a test by the end of May. Even if you're not, you still have 2 more tests to graduate, pass for my class, take the language arts and take the social studies. If you don't pass it, no problem. You prepare for that specific test, and I'm still going to be available until the end of May. And I'm still going to keep all of my lessons open until June. And I am always going to be available over the email. But you guys, try to pass the test that you're preparing for in my class, social studies and language arts. So I'm going to be very honest. Angelita, you need to start taking social studies. Miss Bricia, social studies. Christina already passed it. Veronica already passed it. Mujidat, social studies. Okay. And then who else? And then Norma, I don't know, you Norma, you come and go, but you too, social studies. Okay. Linda, Nadie, and I know in this class, Nadie and Linda and Sandra, try to prepare for one, at least for one. Social studies is the easiest one. Try to prepare that by the end of May, you pass one. And if you don't feel prepared, don't worry. Then you have to make sure that you continue over the summer so you don't forget what I have taught. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So hopefully I motivate you. It's already going to be 12:30, you guys. I apologize. So hopefully I motivate you. I'm giving you everything in order for you to study. So please study, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you, teacher.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Tomorrow.
See you
Thank you,
tomorrow,
Rosie.
you
Can I
guys.
talk to you?
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead. Let me make sure that
Okay, teacher.
everybody finish. You're welcome, Angelita.
Yeah,
Veronica, did you make your appointment? Do you need the voucher? Or I already gave it to you, right?
no, I had the voucher. I need to make mine.
Make your appointment, Vero. Make your appointment, Vero, make it for the end of April. And that way we have until May 14th to prepare you if we need it. I don't think we'll need it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Miss Rosie.
Okay, perfect.
I will. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Okay, you guys have a good day. Hold on one second, Sandra. I want to
That's
make sure
fine.
that everybody leaves the Zoom. Okay, so it's only you and I. Let me go ahead and stop my sharing and let me, like they say, let me lock the door. I have to lock the Zoom. Let me 1 second.